no problem with
This special city council meeting workshop is called to order. Number 2, public comments. Dan Ladd.
Yes, sir.
You'll take the...
I'm so excited. I thought I was at the end. I'm right here in the
No,
beginning.
you're right up front. You need to come up here on the front of the table, please, sir.
Yes. My name's Dan Ladd, and I live here in Guthrie. And first off, I'm sorry that you guys have to deal with 171 pages tonight. I know it's a big agenda, so I start looking at that. But just in glancing through it, I know that with the city tax not going through the way that you had planned on it going through, I want to see our city thrive and do well. And I haven't looked at the whole budget. I just started looking at it last night, actually. And a couple quick notes. You know, simple folks like me understand cell phones, and I know that you guys are increasing the cell phones for city employees. I want to see the police, fire, and city employees get raises, but it seems weird to increase the cell phone rates. Cell phone rates are going down, not up, so I'm just surprised that you guys are increasing the allowance. I also was very disappointed to see that we are, as a city, are acknowledging same-sex marriages as we're recognizing those in our retirement plan. And I know that you're saying that it's a legal thing, but I think we need to stand against that. As Oklahomans, we stood against it, and the feds came in and overruled us. But I think in Guthrie, Oklahoma, we don't want to see same-sex marriages recognized as equal with a normal marriage. So those were my thoughts.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
Appreciate your input.
maybe I can respond to just a couple of his comments, just because I am horse in that race. Those 2 council items I put on the agenda. The phones, essentially, it's a cost-neutral thing we're doing. We're eliminating I believe the number is 11 cell phones, and so the cost of us and the plans for those phones goes away, along with the administrative costs of reviewing the bills and making sure employees are talking to who they should be and that kind of thing. That goes away. And so with that going away, those phones, and then adding, I believe it's like 7 people, some of them were phones that just sat in the ambulances that we at the time felt the need we had to have them, but they're going away. So those bills are going away. And then the allowance, and we are recommending an increase in the allowance, but when you take the phone and the phone bill away, raise the allowance, it's pretty much a cost-neutral situation in terms of making that change.
Okay.
And the impetus behind the change in the cell phone policy was that the old policy was formulated around the fact that if you used your personal phone, or excuse me, let me back up, if you used your city cell phone for personal use, it was deemed a taxable benefit. And all that has changed under current tax law, and so it's no longer deemed a personal benefit, so therefore the policy was out of date. So it was a good opportunity to change the policy as well as to review how we utilize phones.
Okay, and again, it's a little thing in terms of the money that you're dealing with. My concern is the citizens of the city didn't entrust more money to you guys. And these are the little things. When you're saying that a phone is an $80 expense to an employee, I don't think anybody's paying $80 a month for their cell phone. So I just think you're giving more money than is necessary. And again, I'm saying you guys are underpaid. I apologize for that. If we're going to fix that, we have to get understanding as citizens so that they'll approve the raises that you need.
Your deal's part of record, and we will look at it and check that out. All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Let's go number 3. Discussion regarding street closure for Halloween trick-or-treating, and you have some of that, right?
Well, I don't know how it actually ended up here, but I think there was a concern that was voiced by somebody, and to close the streets during Halloween so that it would be safer for the kids and the community. And I think after staff had an opportunity to look at that, the thought process was we would probably be better off leaving it alone, recognizing the activity of that night. The activity being that there's going to be a big football game that's pretty important to the community in the high school. And then there's also going to be, I understand it to be a chamber pub crawl, and I don't know even what that really is, but they're already going to be closing, I believe, Harrison. And so by closing additional streets for Halloween, the thought process was it would just, for public safety purposes, it wouldn't be appropriate to do that.
And we've got a lot of parents that are out there all the time. The storekeepers are out on the sidewalk. Police departments always seem to run through there a little bit more often. So I don't really know that we need to close the streets. It's a concern we'll look at later on, but in the past, there's been so much people traffic that no one can hardly get down the street anyway. So, and most of them are people with kids, minivans bringing the kids down to trick or treat from 4 to 6, I believe, that day. So they'll be down trick or treating. And the ball game starts at 7:30, 7? 7? So those people be coming in looking for a parking place.
And you have the
And
pollard.
And the pollards at night.
That's right. So
The pub crawls at night.
I don't want to see any streets closed. We're
Yeah.
going to have a headache as it is.
Yeah, we're gonna have a
I
lot of
think
people.
trick or treat's done by 5 o'clock anyway, isn't it?
It's 4 to 6, but it
4 to
depends
6,
on if
okay.
they get done or not, so.
Then
They
you
always
have
run out of
senior
candy.
night. Okay, well, that's senior night too, so we're going to have a mess on our
Yeah,
hands. And if we close any of the streets, I guarantee we'll hear it from the football fans. We'll also hear it from the people that go to the Pollard, and
It's not a good idea.
it's not a good idea.
Well, and the other
And I-
concerns too would
and
be the
and I know when I come into
most-
town off the mail route, and it's on trick or treat, we drive very slowly, or we'll park even down here by the tracks and just carry our stuff up because there's such a crowd. And you just don't want to feel like you would run over somebody. And most of the time, I understand what the moms and dads are going through. I've had several call me and ask me about it, but if we start closing streets, we're going to have a mess on our hands.
Well, that's the city manager, just get the police department to be even more vigilant as normal and go from there. Sound reasonable?
Sounds very reasonable. In fact, they said that they'll look at doing that and increasing reserves and having a bike patrol.
All right.
That sounds good to me.
Okay, number 4, discussion regarding the fiscal year 15 budget. Some may have some things, you've all had it, you've looked at it. Any concerns from anything left over? We've had discussions, questions, anything in particular you want to cover?
I have a questions about the budget. This is the public hearing for budgets that we talked about today.
Yeah, actually, the public hearing will be downstairs
At what time?
7,
during the council meeting.
during the council
During the
meeting.
council meeting.
Yes. Yeah.
Which item is that?
It's a good question.
It's
11.
It's number 11.
It's at the end of the
Number
agenda,
11.
it's 11 on the council.
Yep. Number 11 on the city council meeting. That is where we can discuss that. Number 1, Randall's not here right now. He will be here for then. He has the answers to some of your questions.
Well, he's not your financial advisor, I hope, is he?
And our financial advisor's not here either, so we're not going to
Why
discuss it.
Isn't Kim?
We're not going to
in the
discuss.
magazine?
Let me explain this
Okay,
one.
I'm fine with that. I was just wondering,
All right.
make sure we had one.
Okay, we will jump. Is there anything else you had left? Or-
The only thing Serena had asked me to bring up, and just to make everybody knowledgeable of it, that this budget compared to previous year's budgets never contained, but this one does contain the usage of the, to the tune of $260,000, the Oklahoma City Water Fund. And so we're actually taking money out of that fund in order to, we're actually budgeting it in this year's budget. And I think if you look, it's being budgeted for improvements to the wastewater treatment
For that
plant.
bar screen.
Yeah, so in her message to me to get out to the folks was that, this is something that we have the ability to do without a vote of the people, and are therefore doing it because we need to utilize those funds. And I guess with that being said, obviously, if we would have had a little bit better outcome on our sales tax vote, we might not have had to dip into those funds, but for this, we budgeted to do that this time, so I think everybody needs to be aware of that, and not only aware, but that we do have the ability and the authority to do that, so. That was the major thing that she had asked me to bring up and let everybody know about.
Nothing's changed since the last time we visited.
Any other questions from anybody?
The only other thing maybe I would bring up, and Kim and I had talked a little bit about this, is you probably noticed on the personnel or the head count, we are going up a few people in the fire department. And the whole thought process there was that we were going to hire three additional people, that they would be paramedics. And the paramedics will generate more revenue, and the revenue from that will be offset by the costs and the overtime that we were incurring. So once again, that should be at minimum revenue neutral, and at best we will make money on that.
But we don't have them yet, right?
But we don't have it
Okay.
yet because it's.
We are advertising for them,
It's-
but
it's-
we won't hire them until after the budget takes effect.
Any other questions? Anybody on the budget? All right, number 6, discussion regarding chamber agreement. Anybody want to weigh in? The one thing they're asking for, they're going to be at the 7 o'clock meeting. Their spokesperson, there's one thing they're asking for is a 3-month extension, a 1-quarter extension, and then have their board of directors meet with the city council, or however you choose to do it, to hash out and make this a better, more, I don't know, they want to work with council to get this done. But all the money's paid in quarterly increments, so they're asking for a 3-month extension on the current contract so that they can sit down with council. Now, that's what they're going to be asking for, just so you know that.
I just want to, I think that could be a good plan, because I've heard it from all sides about this issue, and I would like to see, I don't know if it's 90 days is optimal or not, but have them talk about maybe, I've heard micromanaging on one side, and I've heard funding on the other, and people going back and forth, pretty angry about it. So I do feel like it'd be good to have maybe at least a council rep or two, talk with the chamber board member or two, and then talk about some kind of median point, so we have a good contract and something that's doable, but something that's also accountable. Sorry.
I actually think we have a good contract, and we're offering them something that we need. The city needs to have some accountability on this, and we're just adding some accountability measures. If they can't stomach that, then there's a problem, because that's all we're doing, is asking for accountability. So I don't see any need to extend it another 3 months or whatever. I think we just give them the contract, and if they reject it, it's on them.
Well, I agree with Z on the accountability, I totally do, and I think we do need more accountability built in there, and I like a lot of the accountability that's in there. My concern is, for example, I talked to a constituent about the marketing side of things, because one of the things they're worried about is on the marketing, is that if we have to, as a council, agree to the marketing, all the pieces that go out, that could be a slow turnaround. And so little things like that, I think, could be massaged a little bit, but I think we have to keep the accountability measures as much as possible. I mean, I really do. I think this is a good step forward for us. At the same time, I'm just a little worried that it might make them less efficient and create other headaches. So I don't have a problem with extending just a little bit, even if it's just a week or a couple weeks, but as long as we get a little dialogue and find out what their problems are, but then also really assert what our concerns are. That's all I'm saying. Whether it's 2 weeks or 3 months, I don't know. Just it would be good to talk about. Because I'm hearing very strong emotional responses on both sides of this, so I think it is important to
I think that's
talk
the
about
issue,
it.
is there's a lot of emotional response, and the facts are that we owe the citizens the accountability of those tax dollars, and that's the bottom line, and that's not there, and we got to put it there, and they're not entitled to tell us that we can't put it there, and we need to put it there.
All right, so when we go down to council, that's number 5, that's on the first part of it. Again, they will have, my understanding is, one spokesperson, and they'll get their 5 minutes, and then motion and second to vote, however y'all want to run it. Anything else on the chamber agreement that you want to talk about? Discussion regarding agenda items. I've told most of you, I'll let you know, number 8 on GPWA for the Ward 2 City Council member. It doesn't belong there, it belongs, it's number 10 on the City Council agenda item. We appoint to the council, then they become GPWA automatically. So number 8, when we get to that, I'll get with Randall and see what the proper wording is, but number 8 on GPWA will not be considered, or it's not valid, whatever, when we get there.
Skip it.
We'll skip it? Yeah.
Delete it.
Just so you know, just so,
I have one, can I?
yeah.
Okay, on 10, the Ward 2 council's position, I would like to see maybe a committee of 3 councilmen, maybe interview these people. I know I've met only 2 of these folks, and I think it'd be good for us to have some people actually talk to these folks.
Make a suggestion?
Yes, sir.
These are all major agenda items now
Do it
we're talking
downstairs.
about, and I think really ought to be discussed at the
Okay.
council meeting.
Okay. All right, we'll talk about that down there. Anything else on the agenda? Request for future items of discussion. All right, and this is going to be a lot shorter than we thought because the Johnson Drive people aren't here. And so they changed it till the first one in October.
October 7th.
Yeah. Is that, whatever it is, yeah.
7th.
So they will be here on that one. And we'll go from there. We are adjourned.